So these are in here because this will be the round 2 bucket. So every time I get some that's ready for round 2, I'll put them in this bowl. Look how pretty them collars are. I could have probably put this in back into the round 1 again, just because that chip on there. This part of it here looks good. I think that's cool. That's why it's in here. If you noticed or not, whenever they were still wet, they were shiny. Now they're more dull after they are dried off. Some of them are pretty. All them lines in that green. Then the ones that hadn't been ran through at all yet. I mean, that's just what they look like. So that's what it looks like now. This here's, that's probably what this used to look like. So never judge your book by its cover, I guess, or rock by its finished before it's cleaned up. Alrighty, tonight's video is gonna be a little different than normal. Well, I'm in the house. We got a bunch of rocks here that we got at a gem mine whilst we was on vacation. We stopped at Cousin It's house on the way home from Florida in North Carolina, and we went to Elijah Mountain gem mine. Spent the day with Cousin It and his lovely wife. Had a great time. We got a good many rocks. They're pretty cool. Opal. This is my birthstone here, actually. We got some big crystals. This crystal here's, that's pretty big, actually. It's almost the size of my head. So what we're doing right now is we actually bought a tumbler to polish these with. We're going to try to figure out, well, actually I ran a cycle with it already, so I'm going to clean it out and see what they look like. But they all looked like this when we first got them. We have some that's like this, but they're all real pointy and sharp. Okay, so I popped the lid off. It's pretty nasty looking. You really can't see it in there, but it's just slurry. You got to add water and grit to the rocks. It's pretty interesting how it works. I'm going to pour it in the screen. Pour it in the screen, and we're going to get the water out and see what. Oh yeah. Some of them polished up and look pretty good, actually. That was just the first run. See these here? It's kind of hard to see it in that camera, but they're still got pretty sharp edges. But look at the collars. Actually, let me move the camera around too. There's a little more light here where I'm looking. So there we go. I moved the camera around to this side, and then I put them down inside the sink so the light shines on them a little better. Sorry about the lighting quality. I know it's not the best, but some of them rocks, some of them turned out, they're pretty cool looking. One like that, it's got all the corners rounded on it. I'll probably put this one aside for the next round. You got to go through four parts according to everything I've read and looked at online for doing them. And some of these, like this one here turned out pretty cool. That's an opal. The polished up opal. It's not polished yet, but it's got the corners rounded off. It looks pretty cool. Some of them red ones, like this one here. See how it's got the white on it? That's pretty neat. So I'm going to go through and finish cleaning these up. I like that when they're with on stripes. I'm going to go through and finish cleaning these up and clean the rocks up, and then go through and show them to you after I got them all cleaned up, and then get ready for the next step in polishing. I'll either keep going with these, or I'll put in another batch. Probably some of these with other ones, but some of these won't go. Some of these are ready for round 2, not still round 1 again. But anyways, I'm gonna clean them up and come back and discuss it a little more. Okay, so I got it all cleaned out. Got all these cleaned up. Some of these, like this one here, is definitely going back in for part 1 again. because there's a lot of square edges on there. Actually, you can see a part that's going to chip where that crack is. It'll probably break out, I would guess. So I'll put it back in and use my grit again, the coarse grit, 6090 I think it is. And then you got ones like this. That's really, really pretty how that looks. Then you got it over here and it's going to chip out. There's a spot there that's going to break out. So I'll probably put this back in as number one too. That, so far, that's probably my favorite one. I like how it looks. This one right here, this is the one my wife picked out. She said was her favorite. They're all pretty though. They're all really pretty. A lot of these, like this one here, it'll go off to the side, and I won't put it back in till we go to do the second polish, second round, which is a little finer grit. But a lot of these, like this one, it'll go back in for first round again. I'm gonna go through and pick out the ones that go in for we'll go back in for the first round of grit, and go pick out the ones that I will push off to the side, and I'll add to the tumbler to keep it full with some of the uncleaned ones so far. And when they're not running through there yet, they don't look near that pretty. You can't really tell what they look like when they're you can't tell what they look like from these rocks. You know, you have no idea what that's going to look like when it's polished up. They're dirty, but I mean, I thought I had an idea what they was going to look like, but I have no clue. So we'll see. We'll see what they end up being, but I'm going to go through and pick out the ones that I'm going to put back in round one, and I'm going to put the ones off to the side that's going to be for round two. Okay, so I got this filled back up, and if you've seen, I put it on the scales. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I put them on the scales. This is a 3-pound tumbler. They recommend that you keep weighs 3 pounds. The motor and whatnot ain't no better than 3 pounds at a time. I added a fair many more rocks to it. So I took a fair many out, but then you lose a bunch in the dust, which is still in this. You can't see it there, but it's still in that bucket. So then when you get it filled back up, you got to put water in it where it's almost to the top of the rocks. So I'll just add some water. I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah, you can see it in there. So right just below the top level of it. And then you got to put your grit in. I left the grit back in the other room, so I'll go grab the grit, and I'll be right back. All right, so I went and got the grit. This here's grit number 1, as you can see on there. Grit number 1. It's 6090. Yeah, 6090 silicon carbide. So this is the first grit you use. Then, which some of those rocks, this will be the second time they were put in, but all in all, it's going to be the first, because there's still some that's got some sharp edges and whatnot. And I want to get them all pretty rounded off before I put them in for the second batch. And then the next, it's the same. It's silicon carbide. The other grit is, but it's a different grit. It don't change it till you get to the fourth one. Then it goes to aluminum oxide, but it's like a 900 grit or something. I can't remember exactly what it is. But C to B, this is a 3-pound tumbler. It takes 3 tablespoons of grit. But it should, I don't know, they say up to 7 days. This here ran 4 days, and whenever I dumped it out just a little bit ago, but actually it's the second time it ran 4 days. So they actually totally ran 8 altogether. You could probably go back to, you could probably do 3 days maybe. Because when I checked the grit after I dumped the rocks out, I stuck my finger down in the bottom of this to check the grit, and it was smooth. There was no grit left. So I don't know how long it was not doing nothing, but You probably could go to 3 days instead of 4 with this, with the tumbler I have. I don't know, some might be different. This near turns fairly quickly though. It doesn't turn real slow, but from what I've read and seen, they recommend a slower tumbler but the one I got, I can't remember what brand it is, but it's for rocks. It's not a hobby one. It's not for children. It's an adult model, but it still seems to me like it turns pretty quick. So this here's been a pretty neat little thing. You can just pour it on your spoon. So that's pretty much it. Then you put the lid on it. Put the lid on and tumble it. So I'm going to, I'll show you it tumbling at the end. But I wanted to show you some of these rocks that I kept out. I mean, some of them like this one here's rounded off. There's no chips or nothing in it. It looks pretty good. Some of them that's smaller, like this one, it's still got some not sharp edges, but they're not rounded off, but it's so small. If you run it any longer, I don't know if it would, in the coarser grit, I don't know how it would react. So that's why I pulled a lot of these ones out, because, well, this one here's pretty nice yet, but some of them is pretty small, like that one. That's pretty little. It probably wouldn't last in another round of that, but if I need something for filler, I'll use it if I have to. But I'm gonna get the lid for that. So this lid shoves down in. It actually goes in there pretty hard. But this thing runs horizontal, so it can't leak. That's all there is to it. Then the tumbler's ready to put back on. See, it seals pretty good. You see me put water in it, so it goes in there hard. It's hard to get apart too, but it seals up pretty good. Knock on wood, I've had no issue with it leaking any water back where I have it at. So yeah, I'm gonna go put this on, and in 3 or 4 days I'll pull it back off and see what we come up with. So I'll probably, whenever I do it again, I'll definitely bring you along. 3 or 4 days. I don't know when I'll publish the next video, but I'm going to check this in 3 or 4 days, and I'll definitely bring you along and keep you updated on how it's going. So it's a pretty neat little thing. I enjoy going rock hunting with cousin It and his lovely wife. So it's in North Carolina. Really nice little place. Elijah's, I think it was called Elijah Mountain, maybe. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I had a good time. So this is pretty interesting to me. I think the gems that you find, the rocks that you polish up, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. So anybody interested in it, it's worth a trip going there if you're not real far from there. So until we meet again, take care and God bless.